We did it, everybody.
Okay, great.
I'm going to use this. This is like, it's, you know what it is? The people like the interaction. They like to feel like they're part of the BTS. You know what I mean? And by that, I mean the Bangtan Boys. How are you, Julia Miller? It's been forever.
It has been too long. I'm good. How are you?
I'm alive, which is more than I can say for a lot of my avian persuasian friends because it was the Thanksgiving.
Right.
And we survived. So we're here.
I'm glad you're here.
I came back from hiding around. I usually do around now when everybody's like cold turkey on cold turkey. And so it's like I can like walk freely and be on the train without people with the grilling eyes. Just being like, how fast can you run? I'm like, not very. This is not going to be a difficult thing. I'm looking at Tony. For those of you at home, I'm looking at Tony. He's over there. Tony, did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was great. It was nice.
Wow. Deep. You ate well, I'm assuming?
Really well.
Cool. Julia, did you eat well?
I did. I ate too much, but I think that's part of it.
Is that not the point, though?
I think so.
Of the like human experience of Thanksgiving? Y'all gorge. And that's like, and then you complain about it. And that's the thing I don't understand. You did this to you. And then you're like, oh, what did I do? And you're like, what you paid for. Do you go somewhere for the holidays or do you hang out in the Chicagoland area?
I went to St. Louis to visit my sister, so I got out of town a little bit, but it was cold there too.
Oh, yeah, you can't get away, especially not in St. Louis. You are a member of Manual Cinema, are you not?
I am.
Are you a founding member?
I'm a founding member.
The Orig!
Yeah, I go back.
I remember, I feel like it was a thing, because you did we do Nasty Brutish in short?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to curate it back in the day when it first started at Lynx Hall.
Is Lynx Hall still around?
They are, and they're doing like a capital fundraiser, so check it out.
Go, get in there. It's going to go down right here, lynxhall.org, I think is probably .org. For those of you who don't know what Lynx Hall is, Google it. We're not here. We don't need to carry you through this. I'm not going to hold your hand through everything. I feel like the last time I saw you in the face was it at Oracle back then?
Whoa.
No, wait. It might have been at Oracle Theater.
Was it for the bunch of short work puppet pieces?
Yeah. I feel like, was it a fish thing?
No, that was Rough House.
That was Rough House.
I think that's the first Manual Cinema show.
Yeah. I feel like that was...
Storefront in... It used to be in Uptown.
Well, is it Uptown, right? Because it was like... It was... Hi, welcome to Chicago of yesteryear. My name is Chad the Bird. This is Julia Miller of Manual Cinema. We're going to be taking you at home through many memories of forgotten times and places.
The year was 2010.
2010! The first Gladiator film was the only one, and a young Russell Crowe. Yeah, there was a bunch of theaters on Broadway. Surprising, no one. And they are all gone now. There was Mary Archie.
Mary Archie, R.I.P.
And there was Straw Dog.
Straw Dog.
And there was Oracle.
Yeah, you're talking about the first proto-Manual Cinema show, I believe, that was curated by Rough House, and it was a festival of puppy tears.
Yeah.
Does this sound
That does sound familiar. And Rough House did a fish thing.
They're a fish opera.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I recall the fish opera. Where you get all those fish, let alone then can sing, is beyond me.
Really
Shed
talented.
can't figure that out.
Really talented.
That's also a Chicago reference for those of you listening at home. The Shed is an aquarium.
Do we have an international audience?
Yeah, I have friends in Sweden right now. Some Chadites.
Chad fans? Oh, nice.
We're still working on the name.
Got it.
If you have a better name, those of you listening at home, please email me at thebirdchat@gmail.com. I'm going with Chadites because I like horror movies. What is Manual Cinema, and what is your mission, and where does the name come from? I had this memorized.
Manual Cinema is a combination of puppetry, like theater, film, and music, basically. But you will find puppets in all of our work. We are made of 5 artistic directors that are also the founders. And we come from theater, film, and music backgrounds. And we sort of started in 2010 with like one overhead projector, making a really simple shadow puppet shows. And we're sort of interested in translating cinematic vocabulary into a theatrical setting. So we have grown a lot since then and sort of explored the medium and pushed it in a lot of directions. But what we're trying to do is sort of stage a live film. And so when you come to a manual cinema show, you'll see the stage covered in puppets and live actors and cameras. And
Because it's not just shadow puppets.
it's not just shadow puppets. We have like actors in silhouette. We have things in front of the camera, like illustrated puppets now. We have live
What do you mean by
action.
illustrated puppets? The kids want to know.
Like
I already know.
like 2D puppets that are layered different colors paper with pen like lines on them, or like painted puppets. So things that instead of, because our origins are in silhouette and in shadow, we've started to, over the years we've experimented with like collage paper puppets, painted puppets, and all sorts of different things, but still sort of trying to translate cinematic vocabulary into the stage.
So when you say like you translate cinematic vocabulary into the stage,
What does that mean?
What does that
Yeah, what does that mean? So we started pretty simply, like using like a long tracking shot. Like we would make pans. We would do
pan shot,
like a
pan shot.
like panning.
I can feel you in the
over.
comment section right now, being like what kind of pans? Like Teflon? No, this is art. I'm sorry.
No, please. It's helpful to clarify. So
We're all super hungover right now. It's the holidays,
Tuesday.
man. Work. Dumb.
But yeah, I mean, everyone knows like close up, far shot. Like we all grew up like watching movies, so there's a lot of like I think internalized vocabulary that we all understand. Like if there's a close up, we're getting like the interiority of a character. If there's a far shot, it might be establishing place or like isolation. So we're like using these.
So you do like
things.
close ups and stuff, like zooms and things.
Yeah,
with
well,
puppets and
zooms
such.
are hard because the camera is fixed. Like we're not using like a camera to like zoom in or rack focus. We're like making those things on overhead projectors or with actors moving in space. So we'll do like an over the shoulder shot and then we'll like switch to the person that they're talking to, but the actors are like moving in front of a still camera to make those
Is
shots
there
work.
there isn't a camera though, right?
There are cameras on
What?
stage.
Slow down.
Yeah.
Take me through all of your equipment.
So everything?
Every single thing.
I think the
down
other
to the
thing,
wire.
The other thing I should mention is like, so we have all this stuff on stage, but above us on stage is a giant movie screen. And that's playing the movie that we're making. So below, we have all this stuff, all this piles of paper, actors in costume, like many wigs, a live band. And all of that is in purpose to like making the movie that you're watching above us on stage. So it's like all
So it's like
happening in
watching
real
you
time.
live make a film
Exactly.
with paper puppets,
With puppets.
and illustrated puppets
And
actors
Yep.
and a live band, and I'm assuming also some kind of water ballet. It's like Blue Man Group kind of deal with like foam, right? No, probably
There's
not.
foam.
There is
There's-
foam? I was
sometimes
just
foam.
kidding.
No, I mean,
You guys got infinitely cooler.
there is like a spectacle element, I think, because there's so many places to look. So it is like part of our whole thing is that we were interested in. It's just like a bit more engaging than watching TV.
Yeah,
or
why do
watching
you
a play
like
in the
want to
dark.
see the BTS like happen?
Because we think the mechanism and the technique is really interesting because it's really simple materials, like pieces of paper with slots in them become rain. Like all the effects are practical. And I think, I grew up in the 80s and I think I really miss practical effects in cinema. They're kind of more satisfying to me often than CGI.
Right.
And I think we were interested in sort of figuring out how to make all this stuff in real time.
What's like a... Oh, sorry. No,
No.
you go ahead.
No, you go.
No, you go.
Okay.
Oh, now it's going to be weird. I thought the holidays were over.
We'll cut it in post.
No, we're not. It's happening now. We're taking your cue from manual cinema. This is all happening in real time. Tony's already running around. I knocked stuff over. This is what it's like. This is art. This is
art.
art.
But yeah, I think it's like it's taking sort of like you know, the liveness and ephemeralness of theater, but making it sort of, you know, there's like a magic to it where you're like, oh, that's just a piece of paper, but suddenly I believe I'm in this like whole story and I'm invested in these characters. And
well, it's kind of like they do like radio, Wonderful Lives and stuff, where it's like you can see the Foley operator doing the thing, and then that becomes part of the show, right? And then it's like, I didn't know that I could enjoy someone smashing melons, and you're like, what about Gallagher? Did we forget about Gallagher? We probably should have. He kind of turned into a creep. But anyway,
moving on.
do you? There's no politics on the Birdcast because we don't talk about politics. Being a creep is not political. You're just a creep. Tony's like, wrap it up, Bird. I'm going to get there. All right. So, like, if you could think back to the 80s, being a child of the 80s, a human who is, like, influenced by practical effects, what's a standout that, like, got you interested in getting into this?
Well, I didn't know I was going to be a puppeteer.
Oh.
That wasn't a plan
It was
I had.
thrust upon you.
The mantle of being a puppeteer. No, but I mean, you know, I love the Labyrinth, you know, all the Henson movies, like even like the Ninja Turtles when they're in the suits versus when they're computer animated.
It's like, you know, it's there.
Yeah.
And you just, the human brain, the animal brain, the brain, if you have one, you can notice that is actually physically there. And there's something to that. I like that it's coming back now.
I think so, yeah. Even just when I saw Beetlejuice, I think seeing the miniatures in the intro of the house and, you know, all that stuff is so satisfying.
Man, that was fun. That was a good holiday film, by the way.
It is. Check it out if you
if you haven't seen the sequel to Beetlejuice. There was so much online jibbery-jube about Beetlejuice being like, I don't know, the plot was a little... I was like, the plot of the sequel to Beetlejuice?
It's not about the plot,
It's not about the plot. There's no reason to care.
It's like,
why are you thinking?
Yeah. It's like, it's about going to that world again.
Yeah, I just want to hang out. I felt like it was like having a Beetlejuice-themed party that had a water slide and like a lounge area. And like it was like it had like wedding elements. It felt like I was like, oh, this is cool. We're like, all our friends are back.
Yeah,
it's good to see everyone.
A bespoke dance sequence. Spoiler alert. There's like some new characters, but there's also all the tried and true. And seeing like Lydia as an adult is.
And Willem Dafoe is there.
He's just there.
You don't even need to give him a character name. I'm just happy he's there. It's just like, hey man, I don't need to know your backstory. It's just you. You do you. And of course he does. In 2017, you created a video.
Segue.
Did you feel that? We're shifting. In 2017, you created a video for the New York Times called The Forger. How did that happen?
We just got emailed.
By the New York Times?
By some people working there to make shadow animations for this film that won an Emmy. Crazy.
Brag.
Humble brag. And they were looking for animations to illustrate sections about the life of this incredible man who forged documents to get people out of. Oh my God, this is one of those. Like, I'm like, can we edit because you don't remember? It was
back
so
in 2017.
Ago.
How do you not remember? JK, I forgot what day it was today.
No, it was during. He was getting people, like helping people escape from the Nazis,
right?
And like children, and it's like pretty.
He wasn't escaping children; he was helping children escape. I tend to run from kids just in general. That's why I don't go to Target. But I digress.
But yeah, his story was really fascinating. He worked in the laundry and was really good at removing stains, and they found those skills really great for like forging documents. But so his whole story is really fascinating. But they hired us to create shadow animations that would be interspersed with his story, and it was a short film. And yeah, it was really well received. He's such a fascinating character. I think the story sort of was so special. But then, yeah, we were really lucky to be able to sort of illustrate parts of it.
I think it's interesting that you say like live animation, because it's not, you don't actually do like stop motion, right?
Yeah, and I gotta like talk to the capital A animation community, because we are not considered real animation. Like if we were to enter like a film thing. Like
Those doinks.
because I think animation is defined by like frame by frame.
Right.
Like stop motion or cell animation. And like what we're doing is like animating puppetry in camera. So we're
Right.
not working frame by frame. But
So you got invited to talk though with the animation community?
well, no, I'm just like, can someone aren't we sort of though animation guys? Or is it like,
Come on, guys. Just let them in the club.
kind of?
Quit gatekeeping animation.
We made a short film that's like we're trying to do the festival circuit. It's called Future Feeling, and it's our first self-produced short project. And I think we're gonna find out sort of like where we're allowed.
Where you're allowed to hang out.
Yeah, where
I love the idea that like you get into a shorts animation festival and the lights come up and some guy with a handlebar mustache is like, no,
yeah, record scratch.
never. We said no puppets. What happened to y'all after that happened? Like, I mean, you get asked to do something for the New York Times, you win an Emmy. Like, did that change things for you? Did you
It did.
get a lot of money and then y'all got like famous and y'all stopped talking to each other and then there was a behind the music and then came the drinking?
Yeah, who told you? No.
I mean, I saw the special.
We got a lot more commercial work. Like our company structure is kind of interesting because we started as a theater company and now we're also like a for hire design studio because of
Oh, do you do a lot of corporate stuff?
we do. Well, the New York Times I think would be considered our corporate work.
I
So
guess
we're kind
that's
of
true.
lucky in that way in that our commercial work is really artistic and still like artistically fulfilling.
Have you done any like commercial, like for commercials?
We've mostly done museums. Like we've have some work at the Chicago History Museum. We've done stuff at the Met. We've done things that are like interspersed in sort of TV or documentary stuff. Like we have a thing on Showtime that's like a Wilt Chamberlain doc. They hired us to do some
That's wild. Wait, how?
flashbacks.
That's such a leap
It's
to
such
go
a-
from
yeah, I
Wilt
know.
Chamberlain to shadow puppetry.
We have a thing on AMC for like a mini like info doc about witches. Like it's a who's who of
So
content.
not like Ford or like
Not
like
McDonald's,
Kitchen Maid or anything like
not-
that.
No, nothing.
nice
like
work if you
that.
can get it. And won't you tell us how?
I know it's a wild world out there for puppetry and film, I guess.
I was burying the lead. You did Candyman! You did Candyman! Do you know how many humans I told that I knew the people that did the puppet sequence in Candyman in the trailer? What was that? Tell me everything. How did that go? I just want to dream.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I hope so. I was kind of hoping you'd be like, oh, it's no big D. And I'd be like, no big D? Then
No, it was
what
a big
is
deal.
a big D?
It was a very big deal.
Yeah, how did that all happen? How'd that all go down?
An email we got. So
It's so lackluster. You
Yeah.
got a DM from the production company. Hey, you guys want to do puppets? Cool, bye.
one of the people on the project who I should like have her name tattooed on my body because she like it was such an excellent call to receive. They filmed a lot of it in
Wait,
Chicago.
what was her name that you want
I was
tattooed
saying-
on your body?
I don't have my phone. I just want to like give credit where credit is due is what I'm saying.
Okay, I get what
I
you're
would
saying.
like to remember.
Okay.
But they
Because there was a minute I was like, I know a guy. We can
no.
make that happen right now.
It's
Tony,
cool.
you know how to do tattoos, right? Yeah, he's already got his pen.
great. Maybe after. But yeah, they filmed a lot of it in Chicago because it takes place in Chicago.
Right, like the original
obviously.
one, right?
And they used a lot of like local talent. Like one of the characters is a painter, and the painter that made the work for the movie is a Chicago artist. So they were drawing on a lot of like the incredible talent of the city that we got here. And so Jordan Peele, famously one of the producers of the movie,
I've heard of him.
also a puppeteer.
He never calls. Is he?
Did you know?
No.
Studied puppetry in college.
What?
I know.
I didn't know that.
Pretty
That
cool.
tracks, though.
It does, doesn't it?
He loves Gremlins, too.
But they wanted to do something for these flashbacks, and I think one of the challenges is like in working with such a famous IP and then trying to figure out how to like go back in time to tell something is challenging and like not always like really interesting as a film device or like there's a lot of challenges in filming that. So I think they had a brilliant idea of like let's do it in puppetry.
Now, did you have any, like, what did you do for that sequence? Did you help create it or just do it?
They gave us the script and we created storyboards, which is part of our process. And
Well, yeah,
submitted
it's kind of like you
those.
are animated storyboards. They're like your puppety storyboards.
And they had a couple sections in the script that they wanted us to do that involved flashbacks of like the sort of the origins of the like
Right.
sort of Candyman from the original movie.
We can only say it 3 more times,
would
so
say,
like
"Ooh."
sparingly, please.
But they were really great in that they let us film it in our studio. They
wow.
they really let us like do the thing that we do, which was really cool because it's such a large project. And because we were filming, so this thing happened in 2020, the pandemic,
Whoa,
COVID-19.
slow down. Go back
and
a bit.
we were filming
Pandemic, am I saying that right? I thought it was called Panda Express or
Nope.
Pandemonium or whatever. Just say what it is. We all went through it. Sorry, Tony, am I screaming in your ear?
No, it's good.
You just look scared. Good.
Likes it.
It's because I said Pandemonium.
Your fervor.
I said Panda Express, and he was like, I am hungry.
It was say orange chicken.
Ugh.
Basically,
Dark.
what happened was
What happens was...
we had a couple things we were going to film and the release got pushed back because of the pandemic. So they kept giving us like more content to develop.
They just kept sending you
so they were
scripts
like, what if
or
you did
like...
this? And what if you also like illustrated this? And what if you made something for the trailer? Which was really cool. So we just ended up making a bit more material than originally planned. And we also got to make the title font,
Right.
which is like on the posters and stuff, which was literally like hand cut. Yeah.
What did you do specifically on that? Did you animate some of that yourself, or did you just like oversee?
I animated a lot of the puppets. I
So you
edited
got to
the
do
trailer.
the like. Did you get to do the like spoilers for the new Candyman film, the latest of the Candyman films? Did you do like the mob chasing him and stuff, or like the heart scene with the rib cage?
Yeah.
Which is my favorite part.
And we wanted to use fire as an effect, like a practical effect, which we hadn't done before. But, you know, with the bonfire and everything, we were like, we got to make like real fire. So we ended up getting all these sterno cans, which are like the things you use to keep like buffet food hot.
Right.
And then just like lighting them on fire next to all our paper puppets. But it looked
So
really
cool.
good.
It so did.
We had
yeah.
like a, you know,
I'll fan Bird out for a little bit. It's the coolest part of the movie. I'll say it.
it worked out really well. And shout out to Andrew Morgan, our DP, who works with Little Cabin Films. And we've been working together for a really long time and been developing like how to shoot puppetry for film. And it was really awesome. Sort of, we've developed a vocabulary over the years with him, and he made
It's always
everything,
good when you develop.
really
Tony
good.
and I have a vocabulary. If I'm like, ow, Tony's like, hang on a second. I got you. See, like, we just did it. He just got up. He was so nervous because I said, ow.
He's still sitting.
Busted. The illusion is broke. But like, so you shot all of that in your own studios. Mm-hmm. Did you have like a director like who? So like, did the director like watch you guys do that, or did you just like
It
here's?
was all in
here it
house.
is.
We just sent them stuff.
Well, yeah, because I guess still in the pandemic, right?
Yeah, and like we shot it in our studio, and we would just send them the content, and then but it was really they really let us sort of do it all in our way, which was really cool.
Did they ever tell you like we just saw your work? I'm assuming because of the New York Times, and then like came for you for that, or is it just because there's so many Chicago like connections that they were like, oh, manual cinema, duh.
I think it was the Chicago connection, but I don't know exactly if
Because we don't want any of that New York shit,
I know. Come on,
guys.
But yeah, the same thing happened to us.
Also, New York, I'm coming for you. I will be at Joe's. I'll be at Joe's. You'll see me. I've always wanted to play Joe's. It's a really nice venue. It's not what you think it is. It sounds like a dive, but it's not. It's very big.
For all you
Please hire me.
Chicagoans.
For all you Chicagoans out there, I'm going to New York.
Yeah, packed my bags.
Packing the bags.
My tiny.
I
Bag.
haven't been hired and or asked yet, but I will be there. Sorry,
I mean,
go
what is
on.
it called?
I was
when you,
joking.
like,
I'm never leaving here.
You're manifesting.
Yeah, manifest it.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
holiday thing.
Yes.
I manifest
Put it
a
out there.
sandwich.
Bling.
Nope. For those of you at home, it didn't happen.
No.
For those of you listening, you have to actually do stuff. Manifesting's nice, but you have to build it. Like you. Build a whole company.
It's crazy.
Doing trailers, New York Times, and your own short film now. You were on tour, too. Mm-hmm. You went Iron and Wine, right?
Yeah. That was also a funny little like who like a what
how?
kind of
Right?
like
The roster is so eclectic.
it's truly a interesting collection of work that we've been fortunate enough.
Was
to
Iron
have.
and Wine an email?
It was. Guess what? But so his management company is based in Chicago, and he works with a lot of Chicago musicians. So we have a lot of because we also work with musicians for scoring our shows live, and all our stuff is like, in-house music recordings. And basically we had a lot of people we knew in common. And when he made Lightverse, which was the album he released this year for the tour, he was really interested in having like live shadow puppetry. So already specifically had that in mind. I didn't realize this, but he studied like cinema and early cinema in school. So he knew like Lottie Reiniger and sort of, like early shadow puppet stuff. So he went to his management company and was like, I would love to work with a shadow puppet company to make live visuals for my tour this year. And they were like, we know exactly who to call because,
Because you're the goods.
we're Manual Cinema and we make shadow puppetry in Chicago.
Right.
So we got, yet again, another email that was like,
man,
hey,
those pesky emails.
we're looking
To
to
whom
like,
it may concern.
yeah. And it was a really fun email to get because I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, oh yeah, cool. That would be interesting. And he was really, really like generous and trusting in that he just kind of like gave us the album and was like,
really?
here you go. And so we talked a little bit about sort of what it could be, but it was a very open prompt. So it was an interesting project to design something for existing music that didn't have sort of like a more narrative driven thing. Because our narrative is
sort of your deal.
Is kind of a big part of the work
Yeah.
that we do, even though we're like, puppet company, like the stories, we're kind of like, I feel like, look to Pixar in that way. And that,
Right.
they have such well-crafted narratives in their films.
Well, I would assume you have to, especially for the medium, right? Because it's just like this could just be a bunch of imagery,
It could
but
be
that's
like
not going
pretty
to elevate you,
psychedelic,
right?
like pretty quick and
Right.
just like kind of vibey, which is like great if that's what you're doing. But most of our work is sort of in the guise of telling like a impactful story. So
Right.
it's cool to sort of branch out and do something that was a little more vibey, but then find a way to find like narrative inside of that.
What's that process like? Like, do you all sit down and just like, hey guys, we got to tackle this? Iron and Wine wants
Ideas,
us-
go.
Go. Steve, go. Too late. Stephanie, go.
Bad idea. No. This process was really different. All of our shows have a little bit of a different entry point because like the technique we're using is always a little different, like the type of puppetry we're doing, or we're trying to invent something new because the story is asking for something different. But all of our shows we end up storyboarding, and this we kind of like threw a lot of spaghetti at the wall, like
Yeah.
a lot of just like
Not figuratively
this
either.
cool? Well,
just like actual spaghetti.
yeah, just because that
It's a
was
waste of spaghetti, but like I get it.
but we just thought, it would help create the
The narrative.
juices flowing. But
Just
yeah,
hungry.
it was. We had a lot of there were 4 of us that were devising for it, so it was kind of like making a bunch of short stories versus.
And you
making a
did
book.
you didn't do this
novel.
with the music though.
We did.
Okay, you did.
So we had the album, and then we had a bunch of like back catalog songs that we knew were going to be part of the tour, and so we just kind of like everyone just kind of jammed on a different thing, and so some of them are like much more narrative driven, where it's like about a coyote chasing a rabbit. There's one that's just string. It's like speaking
Ooh.
of spaghetti. There's one that's just
I was
like
gonna say so
a string ballet.
puppet spaghetti.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's like, so there, it's kind of like a cool mashup, but all of them use sort of like silhouette or the overhead projector. So there's like a shared vocabulary. And then we just had it sort of up and behind the band as sort of like a backdrop. And so, yeah, it was a wild ride. Cause also we were like on like bus, like rock tour.
Yeah,
like,
you
as
were on a tour.
puppeteers. Yeah. So we were like unpacking the show every day and setting it up and then doing it. And then
So you had to do that live during the show.
yes, we were performing live with the band, which was very fun.
What are some of your favorite? You probably have never heard this. What are some of your favorite memories from tour? Hard hitting journalism, Tony. Going in.
Getting to travel is really
What's your
fun.
favorite movie?
What's your favorite color? I mean, getting to perform in so many venues was really fun because it really ran the gamut. Like in, gosh, was it Oklahoma and Tulsa? We were like in an old, like country venue that had all the, you know, like all the old country greats portraits on the walls, and like was like a really weird shaped space. And then, you know, and then you're also in like sort of all these different sort of historical places.
Yeah. Which in the South can be dicey. But like you went for it.
We were there. We brought
good.
the puppets, and they
were like,
they
go
embraced
ahead.
them. They embraced them.
We did a show in Nashville not too long ago, and there's a lot of times where I'm like, I mean, we're cool, right, guys? So like, I feel like that's kind of have to operate, especially coming from Chicago. People assume there's so much assumptions.
I mean, we were set up too in that like people are there to see Iron and Wine,
right?
And then wait, what? Puppets live? Like we kind of, it was a great way to sort of introduce our work to people because they were kind of unsuspecting, and that they were like, wait, what's happening? Oh my God, they're making that like live on stage over there with overhead projectors. So people were into it.
How many of you go, like if you go on tour, how many were you?
That show, there were just 2 of us.
Oh, nice.
Which is our smallest to date.
Have you done other tours besides that?
Yeah, so all our theatrical work is like designed to tour, and so we're kind of like a repertory theater company on top of a design studio, in that we have a production of Frankenstein that's touring.
Yep.
We have Leonardo, a wonderful show about a terrible monster, which is an adaptation of 2 Mo Willems books, which is touring. And then we have Christmas Carol, which is in Chicago.
I was gonna bring that up.
Segue.
Because you are in the midst
We're doing it
of
right
bringing
now.
back Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit without giving anything away about your spin on the classic tale? Because we know what's gonna happen. He's rich. He's a dick. And then these ghosts are like, hey, stop being a dick. And he's like, no. And then like they're like, all right, you keep being a dick, you're gonna die. And he's like, wait, I don't want to die. I won't be a dick anymore. And then spoilers for the end of Christmas Carol, throws open the door. You there, boy, buy me some shit, and we're gonna give everybody benefits so that everybody likes me, and I'm not gonna die alone. Yeah. And then they all hug. Yeah. I think that's how it ends. And then snow. There is snow at the end.
Snow.
What's your unique spin on this?
I feel like I couldn't have said it better than you just gave the really.
I gave you the rundown.
Astute rundown. So our version, we first made it in the pandemic in 2020 because all our touring went away.
Did you do that online, or?
We streamed it online, so we made.
I'm just kidding. I saw it. Go
you
on.
were there.
I was there.
But we made.
But they don't know that. So I'm just like,
people out there.
I want to keep it going.
Yeah.
The mystery. Like we don't know each other.
Right.
Who are you again? Steve? No. I've been saying Steve. Tony, is that right? Can you check the...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Steve, tell me more about A Christmas Carol.
You're killing me.
No edits!
Shall I go?
Yes, please. Shut me
drink
down.
Water instead.
Shut me down as soon as you can.
Trying to get a word in edgewise over here. What were you asking me? What? Oh, we made the show in 2020 during the pandemic because all our touring went away, and it's such a wrapped like content for adaptation for a puppet show. Like there's just all the ghosts, and we'd been wanting to do it, and suddenly we had time on our hands. So we made us a version online where we were podding in little performance like pods so that we could do the show safely.
You did it live
because we were doing it live, so we had no more than 2 people in a section of our like warehouse, basically in their own little like COVID pods. So we had like a shadow puppet area, we had the like musicians, and then we had a live actress with another puppeteer, and we adapted it as a live Zoom where Aunt Trudy, our main character, she's home like in quarantine basically for the holidays, and she's recently lost her husband, Uncle Joe, who loved Christmas Carol and had a Christmas Carol puppet show that he performed for the family every year. So the sort of framing device of our adaptation is that this is a puppet show being performed over Zoom for Christmas 2020 because none of the family can get together, and she's trying to like sort of in his memory tell the story. But Aunt Trudy's a bit of a Scrooge herself, so she goes through kind of a journey in parallel with the puppet show. And I'll leave that there.
No spoilers. But like, yeah, it's gonna go there. It's gonna tug your heartstrings. Consider them tug.
It gives you all the feels.
You'll get the feels. That's the whole point. Scaring the rich into having emotions to help the poor. That's Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Happy Toyota-thon. Happy Honda days, Tony. I don't know what you celebrate in your home, but we're a Toyota-thon house. What was that? Mazda days. You drivers, you humans. My legs aren't long enough. What was it like to do that show when live for the first time in like 2022? I think is when you did it.
Yeah, good memory.
That's all I got.
It was really special to sort of adapt it, something that was like made in isolation because we couldn't be together, and then to bring it into a theater, which is all about like bringing people into like real time and space to experience something. And we pretty heavily readapted the script, but the premise is the same.
You had to do that because you was originally done to camera, right? Because like you had that,
and we had a bunch of canned sequences that we didn't do live. We changed the puppetry to be less shadow puppetry and more like sort of inside the toy theater that Uncle Joe makes. We also needed to like set it in her house more, so like there's like a set and. Just kind of adapting something from made to be on the screen into like made it to be in the theater. It kind of had to change a bit.
Is it difficult to go like back and forth in that and still like try to keep it fresh and like have to reinvent it each time, or do you just kind of go like through the motions now? You're like, nope, this is it. We kind of nailed it. Or do you kind of like try to keep it?
We try to keep it fresh because like I feel like we're not ever doing the exact same thing twice. Like even though we're remounting like this show, like the shows we've made in between, we've like added fuzzy puppets like for the Mo Willems show because it's about these monsters, or we're like using a different aesthetic or puppet style. So I think we try to let the content we're using inform like the material that like, and like in sort of how we're designing the puppets and what the aesthetic is. I think our technique is sort of the foundation, so that stays the same, but it does change because the stories ask us for different things. So we're kind of trying to let the narrative or whatever story we're telling that be it something for film or, you know, to live online or to live in a museum or to be a play.
Right.
Sort of like all those have different sort of asks.
Is it difficult to come back to this material after the pandemic? Like do you watch it like when you're doing it live and be like, oh, remember when this was because we couldn't go anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, we were curious how people would respond to it or if it would still feel relevant. And it is kind of crazy how quickly we've tried to move on, I think, from the pandemic. And I think it is sort of a reminder of like what a crazy time that was.
Yeah, trauma is real.
And we like, you know, like a lot of people died and like we just the world totally changed. And now we're kind of just like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. Like
that old chestnut?
Yeah.
That old, whatever.
It's like time is not linear anymore. Yada,
I still
yada,
scream
yada.
when I sleep, but whatever, man. I'm doing fine.
So, I mean, I think really we're using it sort of as a framing device to, I mean, just because it was such a setting in that time of when people just like couldn't be together is like really important for the like Trudy's arc where she's kind of also self-isolated in other ways, which is similar to how Scrooge has kind of also isolated himself via his wealth, but also just like from his family. So he's kind of chosen to be alone. And part of our story is sort of saying that like that you don't have to be that way, and maybe you'll be happier. If
That's
you're
okay.
not.
I'm not. It's fine.
Hey.
It's fine.
Do you have a tissue, Tony?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Tony, do you,
That's okay.
we don't. How do we not have any tissues? At the end of the shows that you guys do, you always have the audience come up and mess around with stuff. Why is that important?
It goes back to sort of like how simple the materials are that we're using, and we like to give people a closer look. Even though you can see what we're doing on stage during the show, there's something really fun about coming up and seeing like, oh, it's just like a piece of cardboard with a drawing taped to it. But like, you know, all the things are really simple, but how we use them and animate them is really what makes it kind of magical. So I think it just reminds people of how like simple and rudimentary like some of the materials we're using are, but how, you know, you can do this too.
Oh, so yeah, because it's like telling people that you don't have to have a degree in this. You can kind of create art.
Yeah, you can just make art.
Yeah, and please do. Please do make more art. More art needs to happen all the time. And I don't know. I feel like we're going into a strange time. So like the more art, the better. I think the art's going to be crazy in the next couple of years. The punk music's going to be dope. That's true. Next year is going to be year 15.
Oh my gosh.
For Manual Cinema.
Yeah.
How are you going to celebrate this milestone with your troupe?
Great question. Because our 10-year anniversary was in 2020.
Right.
And we planned this like whole like retro spectacular where we were going to do like 3 different shows from our like whole history, like in chronological order at the Chopin, which is...
The Chopin is another theater in Chicago.
In Chicago. Shout out to Chopin. But that all went online. So, yeah, we haven't... I mean, I haven't even thought about that, honestly. But it is pretty wild to have been making work together for that long. We should do something.
What does stop me if you've heard this. What does the future look like for your Manual Cinema?
Gosh, I mean, I hope we just keep getting to make work.
Just getting to... No, you get work and you get to make art. You get asked to do it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, there's still so many stories we want to tell.
What's like one that you're like, we have to do this next year? Guys, we have to stop doing everything. Let's do this next year.
We are working on an adaptation of Macbeth called The Fourth Witch.
What?
Ooh.
Okay. I'm interested.
Because, like, you know, we love spooky stories.
Yeah, your Halloween shows are always my faves.
Halloween is kind of like our holiday.
Yep. We would have had you on during the October Spook-snacular that we did, but I was more interested in the Christmas one because I wanted to say hello and I felt like it was a reunion. And I wanted to have that, a little bit, all on me and Tony. But we wanted to make this more of a holiday thing because, like, the holidays now, it's cold and we want to see old friends. So you got Macbeth coming up. What else? What's something that you have been, like, pitching that, like, is on the table?
I'm working on a sort of... like a grocery store noir set in the 90s.
Oh my God.
That's kind
of
a
journey that's already been.
Yeah, it's got to be, I mean, I have like a maybe really specific nostalgia for grocery stores in the 90s.
Interesting nostalgia moment.
Or just like, it's like a simpler time, you know? It's like no one had cell phones yet. Like, you know...
You could get lost.
Dynamic pricing. You're just walking around.
Dynamic pricing. Is that what it's called? Is it called dynamic pricing?
I think so.
Yes! You heard it here first.
But I also like just the aesthetic of grocery stores in the 90s I'm really attracted to. And
what specifically about grocery stores in the 90s as far as aesthetic goes?
Just like walls of like mayonnaise and Chef Boyardee.
Specifically mayonnaise.
Yeah, specifically mayonnaise. But I'm also sort of into like... it's kind of Lynchian, how it's kind of like surrealist grocery store noir.
Oh, interesting.
In that I'm curious if it can like all take place within the grocery store and have sort of all the archetypal characters of a noir film like set inside like the employees and customers that you would find in a grocery store.
Oh, nice.
So like, you know, because there's all these like sort of sort of social stratifications within like the bakery and deli versus like the meat department versus like the checkout people versus the stockers, you know.
Right, you assume the meat department did the murder, but it's clearly not. But
yeah.
it's like they're like, how dare you?
But yeah, I think it starts where someone is like frozen in the walk-in, and then we have to like figure out what happened.
Whoa! So it's like True Detective, but in a grocery store, but all with your puppetry, with all your shadow puppets.
Yeah, and I think we'd be going back to sort of more shadow puppetry stuff specifically as well.
Why shadow puppets? Though? That's my curiosity for real.
I have a theater background, but I've always been into like visual art, but I'm like self-taught. I never really,
Right.
I never really, I went to school for theater and I studied mask and clown, so physical theater that's like not necessarily text-based. So like I was really into like sort of nonverbal storytelling, I'll say.
Right. Yeah.
But I came to Chicago and I did a show with Red Moon Theater where
Red Moon.
Yeah, remember
I know
them.
Red Moon. Yeah. That's another Chicago theater for you out of towners.
and they
Obviously.
they do
Duh.
like, big outdoor spectacles with like puppets and people hanging from things doing aerial work. And I did a show with them for the holidays actually that was Swan Lake with the CSO.
Whoa.
With overhead projector shadow puppets.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was
So
like my
like,
entry into
like you did it and you were like, this is the jam.
I was like, I love like how it's like visuals with music. It's like nonverbal storytelling. It's like beautiful artwork that is being like animated live in front of the audience in real time. And I was like, this is really cool. I want to do this. And so I made the show that you saw at Oracle, which I sort of adapted this script with my friend, and then I asked like Drew, who's one of the other artistic directors, if he
Hi, Drew.
Hi, Drew, wanted to make the puppets with me, and then Ben and Kyle, who are two of the other ADs.
Hi, Ben and Kyle.
They had just released like an album on online, and I was like, can I use some of your like cool ambient music in my puppet show? And they were like, yes.
You said that in an email.
And they were like, would you like us to make like new music for it? And I said yes.
Oh, nice.
So they made some original songs, and that was called The Ballad of Lula Del Rey.
Yep.
Which was like the first show we made, which was what we started talking about, full circle.
Hey, here we are.
At the beginning of this convo.
And here at the end of all that, here at the end of all things, I'm glad that you're with me, Samwise. Like, what's happening with you? What's coming up next? What do you need people to go see right now?
We need people to come check out our Christmas Carol at the Studebaker Theater.
It's the time of the year at the Studebaker Theater.
December 13th through 29th. Get your tickets now.
Now, they will sell out. They always sell out.
Which is, the Studebaker Theater is in the Fine Arts Building downtown on Michigan Avenue. It's like a beautiful old theater. There's still someone who runs the elevators manually. So you like get inside and tell them what floor you want to
Manually.
Get it?
Because your name.
So it's this beautiful theater, old theater. We're only there the 13th to the 29th, and it'll be a really good time.
Well, happy holidays.
Thank you.
I'm happy you were here. The holiday season has begun, and you too can make art. That's what I have to say. No spoilers for the end of Christmas Carol, though. Don't forget, tip your artist. Fade out.